Hello and welcome to IRL F2 here for round 7 at Austria. Today I am once again joined by Lordy.
Hello everyone, I hope everyone's doing alright.
Indeed, and of course a few times being set. Last week out it was Jared Fosbury who took the win, and also with it taking the championship lead as well, so there's going to be a little bit of pressure maybe on him to do well here today. He said it was one of his better tracks, I'm fairly sure at least. So maybe he's expecting a little more from himself as well. Of course, Kieran Spears being the one on pole position right now with a 3.1, which is actually a very good time to get it started off. Adrian Villarreal on a 3.3, and then a little bit of a gap to Alan Wagner in the other McLaren. Both McLarens actually doing quite well to be 1 and 3 right now. Also leaders of the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, back again for another Austrian Grand Prix. I had mine yesterday and it went alright. Had a bit of a collision with a racing point in my race, which unfortunately ended any chance I had of a top 5. But it's a very, very close track in quali and in the race, so hopefully we get some clean, fast and intense driving.
Oh, and actually I've just noticed the two McLarens. It seems like of course they've been paired quite recently. They were both reserves at the start of their kind of IRL careers, if you want to put it like that. I'm not sure if Kieran Spears is here in other seasons, but there was a bit of slipstream there, so a bit of coordination between the two, so they're certainly warming up to each other. Unfortunately, Kieran Spears invalidating his second run, so he's not going to be able to improve on that 3.1. No one breaking into the 2s right now, but the two McLarens, they're on the same wavelength, it seems. Certainly committed to helping each other out.
Yeah, I do agree. Hope to see I should say, bit better, bit quicker lap times from these guys. Obviously, in F1 we had rainy and very cloudy conditions, so tyres went up to temperature, and the lap times were a lot slower. But a 3.1 is, I expect, a bit faster, maybe definitely in the 2s, especially for the top guys. So let's see if anyone can break that boundary, as I'm now watching Tom Jewell on his first flying lap.
Yeah, you can take him away. I was actually on board with him.
Yeah, he's just coming down now, I believe, into turn 5. It's hard to negotiate these corners sometimes with all the little kinks down the straight. But he's looked up the front right a bit. I'm not too sure if that's a spectator cam glitch or whether he's done that, but it looks pretty smooth from Tom so far. Shifts down into 5, long undulating left-hander as you go down the hill, and then it sort of flattens out as you finish the middle sector, and then across the curb, nice and smooth from Tom so far. Into the penultimate corners, it's downhill, but it's a sharp right-hander. You've got to carry a lot more speed, in my opinion. Maybe not shifting to 6th is the best, and just be careful on that curb on the inside. But he's going to cross the line. Looks solid so far from Tom, but it's only P7, and he's actually quite far off the pace, so definitely a lot more in there for the AlphaTauri driver.
Yeah, and his AlphaTauri teammate one position ahead of him, very close between the two, about 300s, and actually Louis Quinlan slots between the two of them with a 6, 7, 8, so very fine margins between the 6th to 9th drivers, at least. Even Sean not too far off, also on a 0.7. There was someone else who improved also. Maybe no. Okay, maybe not. Or did Jared? Maybe not. Okay, I thought I saw someone improve, but maybe no one did. As Adrian Lennon.
Jared did P2. He split Sassy and Kieran.
Okay, he actually did. And of course, leading the championship, he's ahead of his championship rival, if you want to kind of put it like that. Of course, Kieran certainly going to be throwing a spanner in the works. He's proven himself to be able to fight up at the front. Of course, if you remember back to Britain, where he was fighting with Adrian Villarreal, who has taken actually every pole, I should say, every pole bar one in Britain, ironically. It was Tom Jewell who took that pole. Fortunately, couldn't convert it. I think he ended up P4 in that race. But yeah, Kieran Spears not quite there for the championship, but he can certainly go for wins, and he's going to be upsetting the two championship contenders of Jared Fosbury and Adrian.
Yeah, like I say, a bit disappointed on the lap times from these guys. I want a bit quicker. I want them to go a bit faster. I want to see at least the top 5 breaking into the 2s, especially people
Jared
like
Fosbury's
Sassy
up on
and
a
Jared.
sign if you want to take him. He's purple in sector 1.
Lap?
Yep.
I'm very surprised. He looks like he's in the same set of tyres, but like you say, purple in sector 1 coming into...
Oh. Well, he was purple in Sector 1, but he just kind of stopped. He was
Yeah,
using ERS as well.
I was very, very confused. Maybe he tried to push and then mess up a corner or something. But Jared currently sitting in P2. Who's on an outlap? Tim Explosions is on an outlap, so we'll be having a look at him. You could probably take us through his lap around the.
Alan Wagner is the first one to set another lap at least, as he is going through turn 4. A little bit of a lockup, but we saw that with Tom as well, so maybe it's just the game. Of course, the game does tend to give some lockups that aren't actually there as he goes through the double left to finish up Sector 2. He's actually purple at Sector 2, 800s up on his time. Of course, this is a 3.4, a small improvement will put him in the top 3, and it looks like he's on course to do so as he's going to come through the pole split and final corner. Late shift to 4th there seemingly, but he is going to come across the line and it is going to be P3, a purple Sector 2, but not enough to challenge for pole as he is still 2 tenths roughly off the top.
Yeah, not too bad. He did improve, like you said, slightly, but like I say, I just want a bit more. I'm going to go on board with Tim as he is entering the middle sector, all over that curve. He's actually going to go wide onto the gravel. Did well not to spin there, but that's going to be an end to his run so far. Hopefully gets out of the way if anyone's near him, but I don't think there is anybody.
Yeah, and then there's Thiago Silva going 5th with a 3.3 as well, so 400 between himself and Adrian Villarreal. Adrian in the pit lane at the moment, so he's not going to be setting up until the final moments of this qualifying session, you would assume, as Sean O'Sullivan also. No, he's not on a lap, but the Haas is actually fighting him a little bit here. That is actually Thiago, I'm pretty sure, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Thiago and the Williams of Sean O'Sullivan fighting on their in-laps, I'm fairly sure. They're neither of them on a lap, but they're fighting nonetheless. Maybe getting in a bit of practice before the actual thing. Doesn't look like any damage between the two of them. Oh no, yeah, there is actually a bit of damage, so maybe they're going to be a little annoyed with each other.
Yeah, I just saw Paco complete his lap a few seconds, about 30-40 seconds ago, and he ran horrendously wide at the last corner. He just needs to make sure to stay in track limits. Paco, he's got a lot of pace in that run, so he just needs to make sure he actually gets the lap nailed. You know, even if you've got to compromise yourself a few tenths, as long as you get the lap on the board, that is the main thing. Anybody else out on laps?
Looks like it's Red Bull maybe to set the first lap. Or no, it's an AlphaTauri. Yeah, it's Tom Jewell, it seems, to be the first one as Jared Fosbury goes out on his lap. A few people, of course, well, most people on Tom Jewell going to be the first one as he approaches the hairpin of turn 3 right up on the curb to get that little bit extra angle for the turn-in to get his exit better down to turn 4, down the 3rd straight. 3 very long straights and 3 therefore overtaking opportunities on this track, so you would be expecting quite a few overtakes in the race as he goes through turn 4. Going to be finishing up sector 2 in a few moments. We'll see how well he's doing. Of course, he's down to 11th. He's going to want to put himself in the top 10, as I've actually been told by Adam Corrigan. There's apparently going to be some rain as well. Would have invalidated there anyway, so he's not going to be able to improve. Marcel in the Red Bull just behind him. He's actually going to go into the pits, it seems. So he's not going to be improving either. The next one up is Kieran Spears going through the penultimate and final corner. He's invalidated, so he's not going to be able to improve either. I'm fairly sure that's Tim behind, but he's actually on an outlap, so he's just going to be getting started. Adrian Villarreal is approaching the line. Can he put it on pole? No, he's going to be 3rd. A 3.3, a small improvement. He's going to beat Alan Wagner, but he's not going to be able to get ahead, crucially, of his title rival as well. Jared Fosbury still in 2nd. He's in a lot of invalidations here at the end of this qualifying session, especially for big names as well.
Yeah, crazy to see how many people are really struggling to get the lap together, and it's all going to come down to the guys who actually can finish a lap. Like I said, even if you're a 10th off, I know it's Austria and it is close, but getting across the line with a valid lap time is more important than going faster and not being able to set the lap time.
Sean,
not really too sure to stay on board with.
Small improvement. Thiago, I think, is starting a lap, so still people kind of on outlaps as well. So people going out maybe a little earlier then they necessarily have to trying to avoid traffic, but ironically there's traffic everywhere, so maybe it didn't quite work as Tom Jewell. It looks like he's finished. He's certainly not going to be improving anymore as he's right up the side of the track trying to let everyone through. Adam Corrigan is done for the day. He's invalidated. Dominic Hurley is off the track. Reece March, it looks like, is certainly going to be able to finish his lap as he's following a little behind his teammate Louis Quinlan. Louis Quinlan's going to be coming across the line in a few moments. We'll see how well he will do. He improves to 9th. His teammate, though, Reece March, is going to go up to 13th. So not a great day for the two Mercs.
I've got to interrupt you. He's in the final 2 corners and he is 2.5 tenths up on his lap. This could be pole position from Thiago. It's been smooth sailing all the way through the lap. It's been fantastic to watch, but will it be pole position? Will he get into the 2s? And Thiago takes pole at Austria. Fantastic. Beautiful
lap from, of course, someone who is new to IRL. It didn't really look like he had the pace in Baku, not last week, but Baku was his first race. It didn't look like
and the Williams
he was doing too.
as well comes across the line, but can't improve. Oh, so many lap times going on the board now, but who's actually got
and actually, wait, Kieran Spears is actually going for another lap here as he's going to be coming through.
P2! Oh my god, it's crazy. Kieran's lost it, he's put it in the...
in the what? Okay.
Interesting.
He just kind of put it straight in the wall, but... Yeah, Thiago, as I was saying, it didn't look like he really had the pace in Baku. Last week, Japan, I can't necessarily remember. Of course, he didn't pole on the podium. He's on pole today. He was his 3.0, a very, very solid lap. And, well, he set himself up perfectly for his 3rd race here in IRL.
Yeah. Like I say, I was just on board with him throughout the lap, and he nailed everything. It was really nice to watch. I think he could have been a bit more... Could have committed a bit more in the final 2 corners. I think he was just a bit tentative, but like I said, I think he just wanted to get the lap done. He knew he was on a good lap, and it shows on the timing screens he was best of the rest. And don't count Al Wagner either. That's a very, very good lap from the McLaren man in P2. Actually pips his teammate as well, who seemed to plough into the wall for some reason. Not really too sure why that was, but here's your grid for Austria. Very mixed bag, it must be said.
Yeah, and of course, crucially, the top 2 in the championship down in 5th and 6th, they weren't able to get their final laps in. They were on laps, but both of them invalidated, and of course Adrian, I think, improved a little bit, but it wasn't enough. As you remember, he actually beat Alan Wagner, but Alan Wagner improved right at the end. He's in P2, so there's going to be a lot of upset, and it's going to be very difficult for the two to cut through the grid, if they even can.
Yeah, like I say, the qualifying did pick up at the end there. Maybe too many invalids for my liking. You've got to get the lap time in, you've just got to get it in, and Paco is a prime example of that. He had an entire qualifying session and didn't even set a lap. So, Paco with the pace, if I just quickly check the race director for Paco, just to highlight, yeah, he did a 1:03.1, which would have put him 3rd place. So,
yeah,
like
I'll just run through quickly for, of course, it is Thiago on pole, followed by Alan Wagner and Kieran Spears in 2nd and 3rd. Sean Mayer in 4th, Jared Fosbury in 5th, followed by his championship rival Adrian in 6th. Adrian Lennon in 7th, Jose in 8th, Tim 9th, and Louis Quinlan is going to round the top 10. And then it's Sean, Tom, Marcel, Reece March, Adam Corrigan, Dominic Hurley, and Paco Suarez outside of the top 10. The 2 Alfa Romeos, actually, I've just noticed, doing very badly overall as a team. As of course they're usually kind of thereabouts, especially Adam Corrigan. Of course he got a podium last week, so going from a podium and heavy rain even for the race. So this is really gonna throw a bit of a spanner in the works. A bit of rain always provides a few crashes, maybe a safety car as well. Also maybe if there's going to be a changeover period.
Well, rain in Austria. We had a rain in qualifying, which definitely upset the order. But these guys have rain in the race, so it'd be very interesting to see what the guys do here. Hards do go a long way in this race, and they're not too bad actually around Austria. The mediums do fall off slightly earlier, but not too bad as well. But they do have quite a dip in performance when you get later on in the grip levels and in the tyre life. And the softs don't last that long, but surprisingly longer than any other track on the calendar, considering it's a very high-speed track. So I'm just want to see how this plays out. I don't know how long the rain's going to last. Obviously, we can only see from here. I imagine it is intermediate conditions. It doesn't look like full wets, or is it full wets?
It is full wets.
Oh,
certainly
it is
full wets.
Wow. Crazy. Need to turn my brightness up on my TV. I can barely see anything. It's that dark. Well, yeah, the temperature's key on the formation lap. You need to get these tyres heated up. These wet tyres are just for moving the water out, and they really don't get up to temperature that easily. So if people can start doing some weaving as early as the first straight, it'd definitely be beneficial for these guys. Just don't overdo it and put it in the wall, because I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, something... Certainly, I mean, I think I've said it maybe a bit too much at this point, but how do you think Jared Fosbury is going to handle this now? Of course, he's in 5th. He's got 4 guys ahead of him. It is also raining very, very much, being heavy rain. How do you think he's going to respond to this with his title rival right behind him as well?
It depends how Jared is in the wet. I know personally I love the wet conditions. I'm a lot better in mixed conditions. I can really get the maximum out of the car. But it depends on Jared. If Jared feels comfortable in these wet conditions, I think he's got to go for it. Take every opportunity that comes to him, and he's got to go for it. But if he's one of these drivers who struggles in the wet weather conditions and maybe feels a bit more vulnerable, it's all about damage limitation. The worst thing you can do is go for an opportunistic move in his position and lose loads of positions. And especially in wet weather, you ain't going to get the time back. Track position is key in the wet weather. Even if you have the pace, it's best to be in a good position, because overtaking is so much more difficult.
Yeah, and actually, crucially, of course, Adrian's teammate is on pole position. Of course, he's going to be the one to lead them off as they set off for the 5 red lights. 2 McLarens, they've got nothing to lose at this point. They're going to be going for a win. Jared Fosbury, he hasn't got his teammate anywhere close to him. Of course, he's down in 16th, couldn't get a lap in qualifying, and it's raining as well, so it's not going to be easy to make the overtake. So he's really got to make the moves where it counts and handle this quite well. Keep his nose clean for sure, as they all line up.
Yeah, I'll let you work your magic, Kevin, off the start. You can take us away for the start of the Austrian Grand Prix. I will watch probably about 7th place, I'd say.
As we have 5 red lights for the Austrian Grand Prix, and it's lights out and away we go. And it looks pretty even at the front. The 2 McLarens maybe going to be going side by side in the background as well. Jared Fosbury going down the inside of the first McLaren. That's Kieran Spears in 3rd. And well, they actually kind of funneled through quite well. There's Adrian Villarreal trying to go for a move maybe on Jared Fosbury. He's on the back of him. Jared Fosbury's going to maybe have to defend as he goes down the inside. It doesn't look like it was planned as they're going to go side by side. The 2 title rivals, the Haas, of course, on the inside, they're going to be still going side by side. Who's going to come out on top of this? Adrian Villarreal, of course, is going to have the inside line for the next corner. He's still getting slipstream. Jared Fosbury still trying to go for this. It's 2 McLarens slot in behind each other for 2nd and 3rd, and Adrian Villarreal is going to make this move up into 4th place. Jared down to 5th.
Yeah, crazy scenes off the start line, especially down the field. There's still battles going on, so we see Meme getting overtaken by Adam, but he's going to stick up the inside maybe. No, Adam gives him a lot more room, unlike other drivers I've raced with in that corner. And he actually moves up into 14th place, but yeah, crazy start for these guys. And Jared did the smart thing, let him go, and damage limitation. If he's not got the pace of Sassy in the wet, he's got to stick with him.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's maybe a little bit under pressure from the Williams of Sean Mayer just behind him as well. It looks like he's losing a little bit of time as the timings glitch a little bit as usual. It's not Adrian Villarreal who's in 2nd and not Jared Fosbury who's in 3rd. The 2 McLarens are still running a 2-3, which is a very solid 2-3. Thiago, of course, leading them away, and he's still doing that quite well, of course, in the wet conditions.
Jared under pressure. Jared's going to have to defend around the outside. Sean's going to actually hit him, but he's going to have no grip out there. And look at the racing point behind him, TTG Storm. He's going to have a good run as well. He may even sling it up the inside at the end of the straight, but no, decides to back off for the moment. But yeah, Sean getting out of sorts going into the hairpin there of turn 3, and just, you've got no grip on that inside line in the dry, let alone the wet.
Yeah, certainly. As it looks like maybe Adrian is going to be trying a move again as the Williams goes through turn 5, or actually I should say 6. That's turn 6, not 5. but actually he's, yeah, no, it does actually seem the Williams is struggling a little bit as Adrian right up the back of him. You can see visually the gap in the last few corners to Jared Fosbury is kind of opened up a little bit, maybe going to give Jared Fosbury a little bit of breathing room, but he's also crucially losing time to the guys ahead as well. 1.5 seconds Jared Fosbury is behind his title rival as Adrian Villarreal also sets the fastest lap of the race, so that's going to be a nice little bonus for him at the moment. Of course, it is only the end of lap 2, and he's chasing after these two McLarens now, as Jared Fosbury really is going to have to pick up his well, I'm not really sure what the expression would be, but he's going to have to improve a little bit here as he is losing to the guys ahead.
Yeah, definitely got to pick up the pace. I think Sean as well, these two guys, they're just kind of in a world of their own at the moment, and I think it is going to be damage limitation for Jared. Whether he's got the pace on the guys behind, I'm not too sure at this moment in time. I think Sean may be a bit quicker than him at the moment, but I think Jared slots in more, maybe Tim's sort of pace around 9th. I think those two are setting similar lap times, but yeah, with clear air, Jared, has the whole track ahead of him to do what he wants, and he's really struggling out there. So clearly not a wet weather specialist, as we see Paco go for a move on Tom. I think that was for 16th. So
still funneling through Alden Wagner now, actually closing up a little bit to Thiago. Maybe Thiago making a small mistake, but he is handling this quite well at the moment, at least. We'll see how much he can close up. Of course, no DRS in activation at the moment. Jared Fosbury setting the fastest lap, so maybe he's trying to close back up a little bit as two McLarens actually are going to be going side by side. Kieran Spears on the outside, his teammate on the inside. Maybe he's going to make it easy for his teammate as they don't actually fight all too much, and he's going to slot in behind him, Alan Wagner. Maybe a switch to see if Kieran Spears can have any luck at getting the lead of this race.
Yeah, I think it's a good strap from the McLaren boys. It's like Ricciardo and Norris at Imola, just doing the switcheroo. I think Kieran's got more pace at the moment, and I think Kieran is going to be the one to attack Thiago at this current stage. Maybe later on in the race when Wagner picks up the pace a bit more, he may get an opportunity to maybe battle for the win, but at the moment Kieran is really ramping up the pressure on Thiago. He's actually had a really good start, and Wagner's nearly lost it in the middle sector, just talking about how well he was driving, as it gives an opportunity for Sassy Adrian to catch back up, but he's taking some very strange lines, trying to get some, maybe to keep the tyres a bit cool, because it's all about tyre preservation on the wets as well. You don't want to burn these tyres out too quickly and have to make an extra pit stop, so just be careful around there, boys, and definitely stay away from the curbs.
Yeah, certainly want to keep off the curbs a little bit, as now Kieran Spears sets the fastest lap after his teammate letting him through there. Maybe a bit of slipstream helping him out to get that fastest lap, but as you said, certainly he is ramping up the pace a little bit, ramping up the pressure on Thiago. Thiago continues to lead this race, 5/10 between the top two. Alan Wagner certainly not too far off either. He's getting overtaken by Adrian Villarreal there down the inside of the hairpin, and Adrian is going to get that move very much pretty simply almost, as he dives it down the inside and he is up into the podium places.
Yeah, very good, nice move from Adrian, as Paco I think has actually lost it down in 16th, only unless Adam's actually going to come back at him. As Adam might go around the outside of the Williams, who's quite slow as well. That's tricky though, with a lack of grip out there. If you're on the curb, you just got to be careful. Space has been given, but a bit of contact between the Alfa Romeo and the Williams, but everybody gets through there nice and cleanly. But it's really hotting up as Reece March actually picks up a time penalty already, so I don't know how he's got that.
Yeah, as you're saying, it's maybe holding up a bit at the back of the rear. Adam Corrigan on the back of the Williams. I'm going to switch to the top guys in a moment, as it doesn't look like too much is going to be happening, as Adrian, after passing the McLaren, now retakes his fastest lap of the Grand Prix as he goes through turn 1, a little bit far off the McLaren maybe, but if this McLaren, and actually, well, you have to consider as well that their teammates, Thiago and Adrian Villarreal, leading a 1-3 right now, if you want to put it that way, as Alan Wagner was previously overtaken. So Kieran Spears is kind of on his own. He's certainly in a sandwich, and I think Thiago's maybe going to try and back him up into his teammate, of course, for the championship. That would be crucial to put another car between himself and Jared Fosbury.
Yeah, to be fair to Jared, I gave him a bit of stick at the start. Maybe it was damage limitation, as we see an overtake for 8th and 7th. Mercedes getting past the racing point there, very nice move down into turn 5. As just carry on what I was saying about Jared, giving him a bit of stick earlier, saying it might damage limitation time. But to be fair to Jared, he's composed himself and he's getting on with the job now. I think Wagner's got to be careful if Jared starts picking up the pace here. He's just got to be a bit more confident as Tom picks up a 3-second penalty. But like I was saying, he's got to be a bit more confident. I'm seeing all these high gears for some reason. I understand that high gears limits the revs to allow better traction through corners, but I'm seeing, you know, 4th gear through some of these corners, and it's just too unnecessary. You've got to get better at controlling the lower gears in these weather conditions and short shifting. That's how you're going to gain traction on these guys instead of just keeping it in 4th through the entirety of some sectors. But anyway, regardless, Reece March has actually pitted for some reason. I'm not too sure if he's got damage. I think he has.
Very interesting choice to go on to Inters right now.
Yeah, I think it's a gamble. He had wing damage, replaced the wing, and I think he's just thought, well, if I can time the conditions right, maybe I can get up the field and gain that time that I lost in the pit lane, changing my wing back, but it doesn't look like Inters for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it doesn't exactly. It looks certainly still like it's raining very heavily. Maybe it's a bit of strategy. Maybe the Mercedes team's thinking if they put one out on Inters, maybe it'll work, and if it doesn't, then they'll know when the Inters does work, so they'll know for Louis Quinlan, who's in a bit better of a position. So maybe they're looking at the most points they can get with one car instead of overall. Yeah, because I know they do actually communicate with each other anyway, as I've found out.
Well, that's good. Good teamwork from them guys trying to help his teammate out, but he's lost a lot of time, so it doesn't look like he's Inter ready yet. But Kieran has got a lot of pace in that McLaren. Thiago doing a very good job. He's actually running very low fuel as well, which is a very nice strat indeed. Just got to be careful he doesn't drop too below the line during the race. But yeah, Kieran got bags of pace in this McLaren, and also Adrian behind looks like he's got a few things to say about that as well. So if Kieran can get past the Haas in first, Thiago, then I think he'll be okay. But while Thiago's ahead of him, he's obviously struggling in the middle sector with the dirty air, and it's allowing Adrian to just catch the back of Kieran. So very, very interesting for the top 3 right now. Yeah,
of course, certainly is an interesting prospect, and I mean, I think if it keeps going like this, something eventually is going to happen. Of course, especially being in the wet conditions, someone can easily make a mistake. Maybe Thiago can make a mistake. Maybe Kieran Spears would get caught up in it, and then Adrian could go through, or maybe Adrian gets caught up in something, Jared Fosbury goes through. You just never know what can happen in these rainy conditions. And of course we have a little bit of a guide as well in Reece March to see when the track maybe is going to start drying up, as he is still losing time at the moment. But you never know, is pitting Paco Suarez as well.
Yeah,
maybe on the interest, maybe not.
I imagine the rain is slowly getting lighter and lighter and lighter as the race progresses. But
yeah, on the interest for Paco as well.
There's yellow flags in sector 1. I'm not so sure what's happened there. Maybe a bit of contact between 2 drivers. I think Adam has lost a lot of time.
Corrigan?
Yeah, I don't know if he's had contact with the Williams and Meme ahead, but Tom's got past him into turn 3. I'm not too sure what's going on, but Paco, I think he has timed it well to go on the Inters, you know, because Reece March, who was a long, long way back, is actually starting to gain time on these guys, so Paco could have pulled an absolute masterclass here. If he can get these Inters up to temperature, Paco could have jumped a lot of drivers. I don't know how far he was off the lead, but the pit lane's not too long around here. But Paco, he looks very fast at the moment. He's got light on fuel. He's got brand new intermediate tyres. And if he's timed this right, Paco Suarez could be actually looking for a top 5 finish.
Yeah, and of course, he could be telling his teammate this as well. Of course, Jared Fosbury running 5th. He's the one looking for a championship this season. Of course, he had it all the way back in season 5 when he was in the Renault teammates with Paco Suarez as well. It was their championship fight that we were witnessing all those years ago. Actually, now it has been a few years, but yeah, if Paco Suarez can relay the information of how these Inters are to Jared Fosbury, maybe we might see Jared Fosbury blinking first going on these Inters, as Tom Jewell also now on the intermediate tyre. So I think we're going to be seeing a few more people kind of responding to this and also switching onto the Inters, as it does look a little bit lighter right now.
Yeah, I want to see who gets out ahead, Tom or Paco. Paco actually stays ahead of Tom, but gained about a second as Paco to the leader.
Yeah.
Not to the leader. Let me just check actually the gap to the leader.
Yeah, it looks like, regardless, he has caught about 2 seconds since being on those inters to the back of Adam Corrigan. So it looks like these inters are certainly the tire to be on.
Who blinks first is the question here. In
Yeah,
Formula
Jared
2,
Fosbury
Austria.
is actually in. The people in front of him are kind of pitting. The two Haas's are actually going to stay out. Of course, Alan Wagner also going to be staying out. So it's kind of a bit of a dynamic here as you have, of course... Oh no, Thiago did pit. So it's going to be Adrian Villarreal the next lap. So could this be an opportunity for Jared Fosbury to try and undercut the Haas? On go the intermediate tyre, of course. He's not going to be held, very luckily.
That was close. The Racing Point was coming in very, very close to the Renault, but he is going to get out. And are they going to be in traffic? It looks like there is an Alfa Romeo coming out next to Kieran. Thiago
yeah, and actually look at
race.
Paco Suarez as well. Paco Suarez wasn't in too good of a position. We'll see how well he's going to do now as he actually sets the fastest lap of the race. So clearly the better tyre. He is going to emerge ahead of Tom Jewell, of course. Well, not Tom Jewell, he's pit already, but the Alfa Romeo of Dominic Hurley, and also the Williams of Sean O'Sullivan. So yeah, those are certainly better, and it's going to be Adam Corrigan stayed out. Yeah, I was wondering there.
Yeah, Adam has stayed out. There is 4 wet runners currently on the racing track, and look what he's doing to Kieran. He's holding up Kieran so much. Thiago's beginning to escape. He's going to have to concede the position. He's so much slower at this current stage of the race. Whether he pits or not, it could be a strategy to stay out on the wets, but he's actually lost it in the middle sector and he's on the grass. That's going to allow Jared Fosbury, maybe. Surely
yeah, of course, Adam Corrigan's going to be pitting.
Oh, God, Jared's been caught out there, but Adam didn't really do anything wrong. He was taking the pit lane entry and had to go round him, Jared did, but nearly ended in tears.
Who is going to come out on top here between the Haas? They're actually going to be side by side, it seems.
Jared
exiting the pit lane, and Jared Fosbury has jumped the Haas. Or has he?
No, he hasn't. And do you know why
I thought that was a Haas.
Because
it was
of
a Williams.
Adam Corrigan. Adam Corrigan cost him so much time in the final 2 corners, and it's allowed the 2 guys ahead who were pitted later to actually come out ahead. So whether there'll be words or not between them 2 later on in the day, I'm not too sure. But Adam, not doing anything wrong. You know, he just pitted a lap later, but was so slow. And Jared just couldn't take the racing line to the penultimate corner and sent him really, really wide and cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, when I was looking at the pit lane, I thought it was a Haas of Adrian Villarreal exiting the pit lane, but I got mistaken. It was actually Sean Mayer in the Williams. Kind of similar cars. I mean, it's kind of like a grey, white, and white. So, yeah, bit of a mix-up there. And of course, the Haas's are doing pretty much okay. The top 4 actually remains, or top 5 even, kind of remains as it was. So that undercut from Jared Fosbury, not able to do anything. He couldn't clear Adam Corrigan as well as he could have. Of course, maybe if Adam didn't make that mistake, it could have been a little better for him, and maybe, of course, it would have been better for Adam Corrigan, who maybe could have got out ahead of Reece March, maybe been challenging Sean as well. So yeah, that spin from Adam, or half spin, or whatever it was, really not helping Jared.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see the pace difference between these guys on the intermediate tyres, because the inters are so much different to the wets in terms of compound. I know they are also classed as wet weather tyres, but the intermediates provide so much more grip and actually clear less water. I'm not too sure how accurate that is in terms of Codemasters coding, but I know on the game you do drive a lot faster and have a lot more grip, and it can be useful in these conditions, or it can even be your enemy. So I know a lot of drivers get too confident on the intermediate tyres and end up making crucial mistakes. So we'll see how the race unfolds.
Yeah, and something to actually mention, wasn't Thiago, didn't he emerge with like a 2-second lead?
Yeah, it was Adam actually held Kieran for quite a long time in the middle section.
Yeah, and now Kieran Spears
pull away, but
Kieran Spears right up the back of him now already. It was a 2-second gap. He's obviously setting the fastest lap of the race. Adrian Villarreal following behind, doing the very same straight after him. But we have a fight on our hands for the lead. Thiago must have made a mistake or something somewhere.
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. I just think Kieran naturally has more pace. Obviously, these drivers are all going to be setting purple laps so far. I'm just trying to see if there's any battles ahead, and there is one for P7. TCG Storm really struggling out there in the intermediate tyres, but no ERS for the Mercedes behind. So very interesting. Maybe it's a strategy to not have this much ERS, and he's just been trying to push and push and push. But I don't know how he is going to attack the Racing Point if he doesn't have any ERS, because that Racing Point is 70%.
Yeah, I'm not quite watching that fight, but maybe keep us posted, maybe to keep an eye on it, because this fight for the lead now is really getting close. As almost within 2 seconds there momentarily, Kieran Spears right up the back of him. So maybe it's a thing that Thiago's a bit better in the wet conditions. Of course he did set pole position, but he was doing a lot better in the wets. These intermediate tyres, certainly a different compound, as you were saying. They give more grip as well. So maybe Kieran's responding to these inters a little bit better, as you can see clearly as he's right up the back of Thiago, and maybe looking at a move soon as he goes through the hairpin.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on the battles, as like you say, the closest battle on track is actually for the lead. And Paco Suarez as well, who looks to be making up another position down there in 12th place. Nearly runs into the back of the Ferrari there. But it looks like he's going to get a good exit, maybe. Oh no, a bit shaky on exit there. But Paco showing some decent pace after a terrible qualifying. And he is making up a few positions, so going to keep an eye on Paco.
Yeah, it's kind of died down a bit. It seemed Kieran was maybe using a bit more fuel, maybe using a bit more ERS. Now he's kind of dropped back a little bit as they go through the penultimate corner. So maybe it's just that he was pushing a little bit more. Thiago, of course, calm and collected. He's able to retain his lead, and of course they're actually Adrian Villarreal setting the fastest lap of the race, followed by Alan Wagner. So really the top five kind of closing up to each other once again, but on these intermediate tyres it's a little easier to go for moves. As you can see, Adrian Villarreal closing up to the back of Kieran Spears. I don't think that's going to be a move. It's going to be a very ambitious move. It actually is going to try it down the inside of the McLaren. A little bit of contact as well. He's going to kind of push the McLaren off the track a little bit as he goes a little bit wide, and he is going to be able to make this move. So the two Haas drivers now leading a 1-2 unless Kieran Spears can do anything, as he's back down the inside of the Haas. They're still going side by side, and well, a little bit of contact, and that's actually the end of that. The teammate Alan Wagner, two McLarens have to settle for a third and fourth, and Kieran Spears, well, a little bit of contact there and it put him around. Jared Fosbury, unfortunately for him, couldn't actually capitalise. He was a little bit too far back.
Yeah, not too sure about that. Very interesting to watch. Obviously Kieran had every right to make the move down the inside. The door was left wide open. He was in a good range. He managed to get the car slowed down, but for some reason Adrian just decided to turn in. So whether he just didn't see him or didn't expect it, but as a driver of these qualities, you would expect, a bit more, coordination to be used there. But you never know. It could be just lag for me. It looked like a very weird incident, but unfortunately for Kieran, he's got all that pace, but he's got his teammate ahead of him now. So will there be team orders again? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Of course. Maybe between the two Haas's, maybe between the two McLarens as well. Kieran Spears being quicker earlier in the race, and they did a switch, and then of course Adrian going for a championship. Maybe there'd be a switch, but Thiago, of course, is chasing his first win here in IRL, and well, he's doing quite well for himself at the moment. No penalties for either of the two Haas's. Of course, Kieran Spears having a penalty, so it's going to help out Jared Fosbury to at least make up a position by the end of this race. But yeah, the setup, I think it's going to be a fight between the two Haas's. I just can't see Thiago giving up the lead too easily.
Oh no, he has every right to keep the lead. Hopefully we don't see a Barrichello Schumacher where he's gifted the lead. Maybe on the last lap, but I don't think these drivers have that much respect for each other. I know if I was Thiago, I wouldn't be doing that. But there's a long way to go. We're only halfway through the race, and you just can't count Kieran out. He's got too much pace at the moment to be counted out of this race. He's too quick. Every gear shift, like I was saying earlier, a lot of these drivers running in very, very high gears to minimise RPM, which is actually damaging the pace through the corner. Kieran's shifting up, down through the gears, and he's really getting it right. And it's just unfortunate that he's got some dirty air with his teammate in front of him. If not, then he probably would be on the back of the Hatters again.
Yeah, I think certainly he would. Of course, he does have that penalty though, so he's going to have to hope that other people at the top are going to get penalties of their own. I'm not sure how the warnings are going to be playing out, but the main thing is he is the only one at the top with a pen. Of course, Jared Fosbury following pretty close behind as the top 5. Oh, there's a
Paco's
DNF
out.
safety car, full safety car. What has happened to Paco in the middle sector? As you can see him, he's off in the grass somehow. Very interesting crash. Out
I
of
imagine
what
he's
is turn 6. Between turn 6 and turn 7 in the barrier. All that grass to go over as well.
Yeah, I imagine what he's done is
And
he's
into the
just
pits for the guys at the back.
understeered too wide going into turn 6, and he sort of let the car naturally drift out, and he's gone too much on that curb on the outside. And I imagine he's just taken too much curb and lit up the rear tyres, and that's just sent him into the wall. It's the only logical thing that I can imagine anyway. People pitting for fresh intermediate tyres. Whether that is smart or not, I'm not too sure, because the lifespan of intermediate tyres varies between each track. Will these inters go to the end? I think they will. So I think it's quite silly if you do not pit onto the safety car. Obviously, the safety car hasn't picked up the leader yet, so we should be okay. Nobody's going to gain or lose any positions, I don't think. But as soon as the safety car picks up the leader, if you're not pitting, I think you've made a grave error.
Yeah, what's interesting here though, no pit from Thiago. No, the top guys aren't pitting. Jared Fosbury not in either. Sean isn't in. Well, Adrian Lennon is going to be going into the pit lane. Timber Staden's seemingly going to be staying out. Marcel is going to be going to the pit lane as well. So is Jose. No, Jose is actually going to be staying out. And of course, it's Louis Quinn who was the first guy to go into the pits. So it's going to be Adrian Lennon and Marcel with slightly better tyres. They're going to go out in probably 11th and 12th, maybe. Or 10th and 11th.
Yeah, I think whoever hasn't pitted has really shot themselves in the foot here.
Yeah, and I think really it was kind of a no-brainer for Jared Fosbury to pit. He would be 6th right now, seemingly, given... Or, sorry, no, he wouldn't. He would be 8th, but on much fresher tyres, like 8 laps fresher tyres. Like, that's huge, especially on Inters.
It's not even just the fact that the tyres are fresh, it's the fact that these tyres can go to the end. If you manage them right, you're not going to be going that fast with the Inters. Around this track as well, yeah, it's a high-speed track, but it's, you're not going to nearly be going as fast as you would be in the dry, and these intermediates do last a long time. When the safety car peels in, how many laps will be left? 15, 14 laps? Probably 14 laps? 14 laps in a set of intermediates is actually quite easy. So I don't know why.
But the top guys have to do 22. Roughly 21 or 22, I think it is.
That's what I mean.
Top guys have to do, which is so much more.
It's a free pit stop, so I don't know why. At least gamble. I can understand people gambling, and staying out if they're further down the grid, maybe, to try and hold up people, or maybe try and get in the mix, maybe try and get a late safety car. But this is silly from these guys. They had quite a big lead over sort of the mid-pack, and they would have just come out roughly in the same positions. So I'm very confused why none of them have pitted.
Yeah, the top guys, of course, on those old inches, they're not going to be able to pull away from the guys behind either once the safety car goes into the pits. So, like, with them seemingly have to pit again, and they're not going to be getting away once the safety car goes in, like, they're going to be having to fight guys who did actually do the smart thing and pit under the safety car later on in this race, if they even get there. So they're no longer really fighting for a win unless they can get through the field properly or like have a lot of pace. It just doesn't make sense.
Only unless we severely miscalculated and these Inters can't make it to the end. But the Inters have made it 10 laps, and if the Inters at 10 laps are so bad, why aren't they pitting anyway? Yeah. So I don't understand. I really don't understand the logic from these guys. They clearly know stuff that we don't. from the comms box, but my money's on Louis, down there in 9th place.
Yeah, and of course he was going for a win in Baku. It didn't quite work out that way. He got his first podium, I'm fairly sure at least, of the season.
Yep.
And he said he was looking maybe to use that and go forward with a bit more open mind of maybe looking at a championship challenge near the end of the season. And well, I mean, this is a perfect chance.
Safety car's not in. I thought it was by the fact that Thiago was going very slow, but I think the safety car's just left him for dead, really, to be honest. The safety car isn't in this lap, and they will have to go around, I imagine, one more time as everybody catches up to the field. So yeah, very interesting. So the battle for first has now turned into the battle for about 12th, and the battle for 9th is going to be the battle for the lead. So even overtaking, people would say, what, maybe they want track position, maybe they want to stay out ahead of everybody else, or maybe the rain's going to stop and there's going to be dry tyres at the end of the race. But even if that's the case, surely you would pit for fresh inters. So I don't understand the logic. I really don't.
Even with the fresh inters, it's like even a bit of security to make sure you can go to that dry period if there is one. And if there isn't, then you should pit anyway. So it's just a no-brainer.
Yeah,
regardless, the safety car should be in this lap, so I guess we'll see how it plays out.
I imagine it's just the case of shepherd and sheep, really. Thiago's the shepherd, and he shepherded the sheep not to go in the pit lane, and everyone's sort of just followed suit. But yeah, very, very strange decision. But my money now for top 3 has to be 9th, 10th and 11th. So maybe even Tom Jewell can stay at the podium again. I said before the race, I said, I'll see you in the podium interviews, wink, wink. And he's going to be battling for a podium. So, wow, crazy. Best thing to do if I'm these guys with the fresh tyres, you're going to have a lot more pace, that's a fact. But only unless the guys ahead are really holding you up, just sit behind them.
Yeah.
Just sit behind them, be cautious, and as soon as they pit, they're at you either, and you've got the track to yourself. But here you go, I'll let you, as there's a 5-second penalty with the collision.
Adrian
take away the
Lennon down in 9th, of course, he'll be looking for a bit of a fight for the lead, but away go the two Hasses. Of course, they're going to continue in the 1-2 that they've been leading for quite a while recently in this Grand Prix. The two McLarens are going to retain their 3rd and 4th, maybe a switch between them coming soon. We'll see, I guess, as they are much closer to the Hasses as they were before. Jared Fosbury as well, down in 5th. He's going to be looking for something, but it looks like everyone is going to funnel through. No one really making any significant moves. It's actually Jose is going to make a move down the inside, and actually round goes the Haas as well. He clips the back of the Haas.
Williams.
And round it goes, or Williams, okay. Yeah, I don't know why I was saying Haas. It is a Williams as they exited turn 3, so very unfortunate for him to get caught up in an instant he really didn't need, as Tim Bristain's trying to defend. Of course, he's on these really old tyres. Same with crash!
Oh my god!
Into the wall. There's there's a little bit of damage for the Ferrari, but luckily he's not out of this race as yellow flags in sector 2, of course. Louis Cunningham is going to go through on those fresh tyres. He's now up to P6. And you can see the top
crazy.
5.
I can't believe what I've just seen, Kevin. I've never seen a crash or an accident happen in that part of the track at Austria before. Absolutely crazy scenes. I'm not really too sure what happened.
Yeah, penalty for Adrian Villarreal running in P2 as well. This might allow Jared Fosbury to get ahead, depending on how close he can stay to him.
Yeah, crazy scene seeing accidents like that happen. I can't believe what I've just seen. That is ridiculous. I've never seen that before in my life. Not too sure what Jose was playing at in the hairpin either. It looked like he tagged the Williams, and the Williams went round, unfortunately, getting caught up in that incident. And then obviously having an incident with the AlphaTauri in the next corner. So, not a popular man, Jose, at the moment, as he's now going to retire from the race. I imagine that's in the pit lane. I hope that's in the pit lane. Yeah, it is in the pit lane. That is good, as we see battles all over the place. We see Meme going side by side with an Alfa Romeo down the straight. Here we go, and there's also a battle ahead as well. Tom Jewell and a Racing Point. Tom Jewell's going to get ahead of the Racing Point. Oh my god, there's battles kicking off, and Meme gets ahead of the Alfa Romeo as well. So it's really, really heating up here at Austria.
Yeah, it certainly is, as Tom Jewell goes through. Of course, this is, from what I can tell, it is actually a net P3 once the top guys pit or their tyres puncture. As of course, punctured tyres is a kind of it is a factor here at Austria. So maybe the engines are going to be different, but certainly in the dry conditions, punctures do tend to happen, as Tom Jewell now right up the back of Marcel, the kind of sister team of the Red Bull. This is going to be looking for what is going to be a net P2 if the top guys are going to be pitting.
Just saying, what a move from Adam on Reece March there, down in 12th place, takes him at turn 1. Adam's got some serious pace on these intermediate tyres. It looks like he's going to be challenging his teammate maybe, if he, bit of a late move if he went for that, but he's going to line him up maybe for turn 5. As we're going to see him go over, and his teammates all over the curve. Adam tries to get the traction down, really revving the hell out of that Ferrari engine. Luckily it's not unrealistic or he'd be going nowhere. But yeah, absolutely crazy scenes. As I think Tom Jewell's actually smelling blood now. He knows he could be on this podium. And also, Marcel has a 5-second penalty with the collision with TTG Storm under the safety car. So it's really starting to come together for these guys. And there's only a 2-second gap between Jared and Louis, who's in 6th. So Louis had an absolute masterstroke here on these intermediate tyres. Absolutely sensational scenes from Louis and Marcel and the guys behind. Like you say, I'm not too sure what these guys are playing at on the intermediate tyres who have stayed out, but they are battling nonetheless. And let's just see what order these guys are coming to the pit lane in.
Yeah, interestingly, Jared Fosbury with the fastest lap of the race. Louis Quinlan in clean air wasn't able to best it. So these top guys may be using a bit more fuel, surely. I mean, you would expect it if they're going that much quicker. And maybe just trying to keep ahead as long as they can as the kind of big 5 of this race, if you want to kind of say it like that, as they have been kind of leading the top 5 in a bit of a train this whole race.
Sorry, the Alfa Romeo is nearly round, and there's going to be an overtake. The Williams of Meme has found pace out of nowhere, and is going to take the racing point down the inside. It's his favourite overtaking place this race, and Meme is now up to P9, so Meme could be on the podium at this rate, because he doesn't have any penalties. Wow. What an overtake. That was sensational. Oh, Jared! Jared has nearly lost it from P5. Jared's all over the place. Oh, my God.
Oh,
through the middle
puncture.
sector.
Is that a puncture I see? Or am I wrong?
On who?
Okay, no, it wasn't a puncture. I thought Jared Fosbury had a puncture for a second, and might have explained why he lost the rear, but he's going to be able to continue for now. Still in P5, of course, no penalties for him. Adrian Villarreal certainly does have a penalty. If he can keep going like this, he will end up beating his title rival and actually getting himself on the podium. So, looking good for Jared at the moment, as long as he gets no more pens. If other people around him get a few more pens, maybe he's going to be licking his lips for sure. But yeah, Jared Fosbury almost crashing out.
Breaking news as Reece March is going to go around the outside. He's going into turn 3. Brilliant move from Reece March going to the 11th. Breaking news though, people are on softs. People have pitted for the soft tyre.
Oh yeah, it's actually very dry.
Surely it's not ready yet.
Well, I guess we'll see 17.7, 17.6, 0.5, 0.4. I think it is, Lordy.
Oh, wow.
Or actually, is it? Oh, now he's losing time. He
no,
was
he's losing
gaining
time. I don't think it's ready yet. This is the problem with the soft tyres. People are going to start pitting already. I think that's Jared. Jared's going to start pitting. But are they losing time or gaining time? Adam's not really give us the best indicator there, because he's lost time and gained time during the lap. But people are going to start pitting. I think it's too early. The intermediate tyres in the dry conditions
a few more people actually
bad.
in. That's Tom Jewell and Adrian Lennon. Of course, they pit under the safety car for fresh intermediates. They're now going to be pitting for fresh softs to the end of this race. We'll see how well Jared Fosbury, or where Jared Fosbury is actually going to emerge from the pit lane, is certainly something we're going to have to look out for, as he's going to actually be on his own. Of course, first of the people on softs, Adam Corrigan going to be side by side maybe with people like Adrian. Of course, he was behind these guys, so maybe these softs are actually better, Lordy, because if you remember, Adam Corrigan was behind people like Tom Jewell in that, and now he's ahead.
I think Tom had damage though, so he did change his wing, but even so, that is a lot of time gained. I don't know what the right answer is. We're going to have to look at the top guys and see what they do.
12.7, 12, oh.
It's really close. Maybe it's the touching point. Will
12.7.
Thiago pit? Thiago's drifting to the right hand side. There's yellow flags in the middle sector. Tom Jewell is off. Tom Jewell is out of the race. Surely he's going to spin it round, but he's had a collision with somebody.
Yeah, in goes the top guys now. The two Hasses are actually going to be double stacking. Kieran Spears staying out for another lap. Alan Wagner going to be going in.
Marcel, that's a penalty. 100%. He's completely cut the pit lane. That is really bad from Marcel. He's completely locked up and cut the pit lane. That is a penalty, 100%. Everybody is in for fresh softs. Where is Jared Fosbury going to come out? Jared Fosbury could have pulled an absolute masterclass here. Will he come out anywhere closer to the top step of the podium? Here he comes now around the final corner. I imagine he's going to beat some people out, but I'm not too sure who.
No, it doesn't look like he's actually done all too well. He might be side by side with Adrian Villarreal. As you see him on the left-hand side, he's going to be getting certainly a better run side by side. Maybe between the two title rivals, and he's lost it out of the pit lane. Adrian Villarreal. Jared Fosbury going to be going side by side with Marcel, and they're going to be going side by side surely into the hairpin. Maybe he's going to be able to do a switchback move as Marcel goes deep. He is going to be switchbacking the Red Bull, I should say, is in the background. Of course, the Haas of Adrian Villarreal not able to capitalise. Of course, he lost the position actually out of the pit lane. Marcel emerging behind him. Jared Fosbury now crucially ahead of his title rival.
I think Jared's got damage. I think Jared has end plate damage.
He does actually have damage. Front left end plate damage, yeah.
Oh,
and that's going to allow Marcel to go straight back through.
Yeah, I don't know where he's picked up that damage, whether he's hit the wall or he actually hit the back of Marcel going down into the hairpin. But yeah, it's all over for Jared. I said it was damage limitation. You've got to stay out of the wars. And Jared, the championship leader, who's going to be overtaken by second place man, but he's holding him up like mad through the final couple of corners. This could be classed as dangerous driving. There's going to be a run for Meme. Meme's going to go up the inside. Jared's actually going to get out of the way, and he's playing it tactical. Look at this from Jared Fosbury. Oh, and there's going to be spins. Surely there's contact all over the place. It's ridiculous. There's no way he's going to shove him onto the grass.
A little bit. Adrian Villarreal trying to go side by side with Jared Fosbury. Of course, he might dive them all. Here's the Williams goes through. It's actually a little bit more damage for Jared Fosbury.
He's lost
getting
his
it from his title rival as well. He went a little bit too deep. Of course, that wing damage probably not helping with braking, and now he's got both of his end plates gone, so he's certainly not going to be able to. Is he still going to go down the inside anyway, getting more damage?
That's ridiculous. What's he doing? I can't hype this up anymore. This is a joke. Oh my god.
He's actually hit the back of Adrian Villarreal now.
Yeah, get out of the way, Jared. This is silly. Absolute ridiculous driving. I can't stress this enough. That is appalling. That is honestly disgraceful. Get out of the way. Honestly, get out of the way. Retire. I'm sorry. I know I like Jared. He's a nice guy and all that, but I've got to be unbiased in the commentary box, and that is disgraceful. What I've just seen on the track. Get out of the way. He's completely bottled it. But in other news, Kieran's pitted a lap or two later. I'm quite surprised, and he's lost an absolute bucket at a time.
Yeah, he's going to be emerging in 6th after Jared's incidents. It's plural, really. A little bit too desperate to try and get back past his side rival. It was kind of a losing game, especially with 6 laps left. He tried, but couldn't do it. But we certainly do have a fight for the lead. It's not actually Kieran Spears, and it's certainly not Adrian Villarreal anymore, as he's down in 7th. It's still a McLaren and a Haas, and of course it's Thiago leading this race, as he has done for pretty much the entirety of the race, as of course Alan Wagner just behind him. We'll see how well both of them can do, as of course there's not going to be any puncture threats from either of these guys, as they pit quite early. They're only on a lap. It's kind of like a sprint race, really, like a 5-lapper for these guys, as Alan Wagner sets the fastest lap of the race as they go out of turn 1. So, I mean, we may not have a fight between the two title rivals anymore, but we certainly have a fight for the lead, as he's going to be closing up now, as Adrian Villarreal also sets the fastest lap, getting himself an extra point, but certainly Alan Wagner purple in the first sector, 10th up, so maybe the McLaren driver are going to be setting another fastest lap.
Kieran round into 5th as well. Kieran actually was going to set the fastest lap of the race. He's really got some pace. He's had quite an unfortunate experience out there at the moment. I think Tim has just picked up a point as well. Down there in 10th, yeah, brilliant move. Up into 10th place for the AlphaTauri, picking up the pieces of what's been a pretty terrible Grand Prix for these guys. Also, battle for the lead, really heating up. Thiago has driven brilliantly. I've got to say, from start to finish, he has commanded this race. He's come under pressure from multiple drivers, his own teammate, both McLarens, and he's kept his nerve throughout the entire race. Let's see if he can keep it up for another 4 more laps.
Yeah, let's see, of course, as DRS should be in activation, as I'm actually going to, yeah, DRS is in activation, so that McLaren is going to be able to have a little bit extra aid as he's going to be trying to make this move. Kieran Spears in the other McLaren, of course, fresher tyres, or ever so slightly fresher tyres, but here goes Alan Wagner down the inside. It's going to be McLaren versus Haas into the hairpin. There's no contact, it seems, between the two. Very respectable driving from both of them, leaving each other enough spaces. There's a little bit of contact actually down the straight, but it looks like now Alan Wagner's finally going to be able to make this move up into the lead of this race here on lap 33. And well, I don't think this is over, because Thiago, I think, might have something to say about it. He's been leading most of this race. He's going to want this back.
Yeah, I think Thiago's playing this smart. I think Thiago has got the pace to keep with Alan Wagner at this current time. As we see Reece March having a great battle down there in 12th place. Oof, neck and neck going through the middle sector. He's going to use all of his ERS, not like he's got any to burn. But around the outside, you're definitely not going to get past there, mate. But a great defence. Sorry, a great attempt from Reece anyways. He's just run a bit wide. But yeah, just going back to the top two, I think Thiago's played this really smart. He's going to leave it to the last lap and he's going to get past with DRS, and I think that is the mark of a true race winner.
Or maybe he's not going to leave it. It looks like he is certainly closing up a lot. He's not going to be going for a dive bomb as he sets the fastest sector 1. Of course, a DRS in activation as well. You're always going to set a fastest sector 1. There's only one corner.
Oh, Kieran up the inside, and Marcel. This could be crucial. They both got penalties, but here Kieran, like I said, had so much pace, and up the inside of turn 3. I've never seen anyone go up the inside of turn 3 and get that much traction. Kieran really mastering the gears around here, and he's going to be after Louis, but Louis doesn't even have to fight them. They've got penalties, remember, so Louis is still on course for a podium.
Yeah, of course, if you remember, Louis, of course, was the first one to go into the pit lane. He was the one who blinked first, and those fresh inters, of course, certainly helping out as he's now on the fresh softs. He's put himself in this P3, and he is only himself to thank for it. So anyone else on the grid could have done what he did, but he did it, and, well, look at him now.
Yeah, I do agree. It's a brilliant drive from Louis for where he started on the grid.
But here comes Thiago again on Alan Wagner, though, side by side into the hairpin. Once again, the Haas is going to be forced around the long way around, unless he can get a switch back. He's going to get a front wing alongside just about as DRS in activation once again as they're going to be approaching turn 4 side by side. Still, the Haas is going to have the inside line. Oh, jeez, Alan Wagner, a little bit of contact there as well. Alan Wagner trying to hold it around the outside, but can't do it on laps 35 out of 36, so he's going to have one more chance, really, to make this move stick. So it's really not over yet. It's going to all depend on how these last few corners go, approaching the final lap.
I think Thiago's played it smart again. I thought he'd wait for the last lap, but what he's done is tried to drain the ERS of the McLaren behind and maybe try and catch him off guard. So I think Thiago, again, still has it in the bag. There's a lot of DRS and a lot of ERS to play with these drivers. But as you can see, there's a 20% ERS difference between these guys. And I think Thiago is just rattled Alan Wagner at the moment. Obviously, there is 3 detection zones on this track, and the second one definitely being the most pungent as we go up the hill into the hairpin. Will Alan Wagner go down the inside? He's having a sniff, but he's not quite committed to it.
Yeah, he's not able to. Kieran Spears actually making a move on Louis Quinlan. I don't think he'll be fighting that too much, as he knows he's going to be getting that place back on penalties.
As a battle for 6th as well, the championship, the guy in 2nd place. Adrian has got past for 6th place as well, but as a penalty, so might not be able to take it. And Thiago has played an absolute masterclass. If he can keep his car on the road, he's absolutely rattled the McLaren, and he's played all of his cards perfectly. He used all of his ERS down the last straight to counteract the DRS of the McLaren, and this man has played every card perfectly. We're going to see the Haas, for his first ever win, the new guy in IRL, come across the line to win the Austrian Grand Prix. It's Thiago with a fantastic performance, and don't count out Alan Wagner. Brilliant performance from him. Kieran does overtake Louis, but Louis should get the podium with the penalty, and he does. Fantastic performance from him. And as we see, Sassy Pickle goes down to 7th place, and Meme actually gets 5th. Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you were saying, Thiago did play his cards right with the ERS, and I mean, he's taken his first win. Maybe this is something for things to come. Of course, he has teammates with the now championship leader. He was the championship leader 2 rounds ago. Lost it to Jared Fosbury in Japan. He's got it back now. Jared Fosbury, of course, not scoring any points, got damaged somewhere. But on the top separate podium, it is Thiago Silva taking the win, lifting the trophy. And well, he led most of the race. He put himself on pole position and he converted it. All him, really. Alan Wagner put up a good fight, but just wasn't able to do it in the end. The Haas driver taking his first win. 3rd race in IRL as well.
Yep, Thiago Silva, a great defender in real football, but not just a great defender, a great racing driver as well. Wow, he really stepped up today. He did everything. He got pole. He won the race. The only thing he couldn't get was fastest lap, but he didn't even need it. He was in a class above in that race. Dealt with every single opportunity. Then dealt with every pressure put on his shoulders, and he comes out on top. Only by 5/10 to Alan Wagner. He gave him a run for his money. As you can see on the screen, Kevin, if you run through quickly the top 10.
Of course, it's Alan Wagner in 2nd, Louis Quinlan taking a deserved P3, Marcel in 4th, Sean in 5th, Kieran Spears dropping down to 6th, Adrian Villarreal in 7th, Adrian Lennon taking 8th, Tim 9th, and Sean in 10th. And then it's Adam Corrigan, Dominic Hurley, Reese March taking the final few positions, and then the DNFs, Jared Fosbury, Tom Jewell, Jose Carlos Correa, and Paco Suarez. As I'll get the top 3 in now. Is there Alan Wagner in? There's Louis Quinlan. Just waiting for Thiago now. And also, well, Lori went for a drink. He lost his voice, so... That would be Thiago. Yeah, well, I guess you can take Louis Quinn and you can start it off, Lori.
Alright. 3rd place for Louis. Are you here?
I am.
Good man. Good man. First of all, always the first question from me anyway. How was it? How do you feel? Do you deserve the 3rd place? What's
safety
your
car.
thoughts?
That safety car was very lucky. very lucky. I did not feel good in that race. I just know Austria is very it's dynamic. Like anyone can be good there. Everyone can be at least on the pace and around about. So everyone is a bit harder to pass. You're not as quick compared to most people. I didn't think I deserved P3, if I'm really honest. Mm-hmm. But I kind of just stuck it out and followed the strategy, and it worked.
Yes. Second question from me. Obviously, a lot of drivers didn't pit under the safety car. Did that for you, warning signs in your head? Were you always going to pit under the safety car, or did you think it was a bit of a gamble?
I was definitely going to pit under the safety car. I don't know what anyone else was doing, if I'm frankly honest. I feel like the softs come quite late for everyone. I knew everyone in front of me was on older inters. We would have closed up the gap anyway. A couple people in front of me made mistakes, started battling too hard, went off the track. Don't know if you saw that. Just made it quite easy for me to pick it and go. And then I was the first runner behind all the people who hadn't pit. I did have old softs in the last stint because I kind of did a qualifying lap on them, but I'm not going to talk about that. But it was, I was definitely going to pit. That is what I was going to do.
Yeah, it seemed like the obvious choice for myself as well. We were saying in the comms box, me and Kevin, I was really unsure why the top runners didn't pit. But it did work out in the end for some of them, not all of them. Unfortunately, some people retired from the race. Yeah. Last question from me. What's the next round, Kevin? Enlighten
France.
me. Oh, Paul Ricard. What would you feel about that, Louis? Paul Ricard next week.
I like Paul Ricard. A lot of overtaking opportunities. You can brake really late into a lot of the corners, especially the long straight. And if you get the room there, you can definitely dive bomb it. I've done it before, and it really puts drivers off their stride. But I'm looking forward to that. And let me not lie, I wasn't coming into this race thinking I was going to be sitting on a podium. I didn't practice that much for this race. Didn't have a lot of time, quite frankly. But I'm happy. I'm happy that I got P3, to be honest. Best result I could ask for.
I was going to say you should be happy. P3 round here, making the best. Probably not the best situation for yourself. So, congratulations on P3. We may come to you at the end if P1 doesn't come. But I suppose, Kevin, you want to take P2?
Yeah, unfortunately, Thiago isn't going to be making it to the interview, so it is going to be Alan Wagner who will finish up with, of course. There is actually a few questions really to ask, because of course you were fighting alongside your teammate at the top. I mean, first of all, I guess, how did the race go for you? Of course, you ended up with a second, could have won for sure. I mean, it was close between you two. It kind of depended on what lap you finished on. If there was one more lap, maybe it would have been you, maybe it would have still been him. So how was those last few laps? Yeah, of course. It was really close. Also, between you and your teammate, was there any communication between you two? Of course, both of you started off as reserves. Your teammates in McLaren now. I think with this you should still be leading the constructors, so maybe an extension of the gap being second. So, was there any communication between you and Kieran during the race? Because there were points where maybe you let him through or maybe made it easy, and I think I saw you slipstreaming maybe in quali as well. Okay, well, it certainly looked coordinated from our end, so certainly respect, even if you weren't actually talking in a party between you and your teammate. Then I'm sure he would have respected you the same way, but obviously it didn't work out for him. Going forward, though, of course, you're not necessarily in a championship fight, but this result surely I would think would give you a bit of confidence. Of course, the next week being France, so maybe if you want to comment on how you think you could do in future races. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you succeeded in Austria today without any pens, which is certainly a difficult track to do it at. So maybe that would give you a little bit more confidence in your lines. So yeah, really to finish off, I guess congratulations on the P2 and good luck for the remaining races. So that has been IRL F2 here for Austria in round 7. Of course, the championship situation, Adrian Villarreal certainly taking back his lead over Jared Fosbury after a few incidents. It seemed, looking at the Discord, that Jared had some controller issues, so maybe there's going to be something that will emerge on that later. But as of right now, of course, it is Adrian Villarreal retaking his lead where I'm sure he wants to be. And yeah, I guess we'll see how Jared Fosbury is going to respond to this next week out in France. So yeah, that has been me and Lordy bringing you more IRL content here in F2, of course. And be sure to join us next week as well, where this championship really is heating up as we get into the later stages. Good night.
See you in a bit.